First thing, this is my first ever exposure to like nationwide audience. There are people from like every 26 states. You have one or the other. Two things that pull me here are IRE and CPMP.
Okay.
So IRE is shaping me as to like, even if you want to be an employee at an executive level, you should have that entrepreneurship mindset. Basically, majority of engineering students, after doing engineering, they figure out what they require and they get into MBA. It is not about what kind of a leader you are. It's like initially you have to prove you can get things done. Bangalore is like Silicon Valley. Like that's the first sentence I used. So I want exposure. If you want opportunity,
Okay.
and if you are somebody who grabs it at first sight, GIBS is your point.
Hello and welcome back to one more enlightening episode of GIBS IR Talks podcast powered by GIBS Business School Bangalore, a place where innovation meets inspiration. I'm Professor Sandeep, your host for today's discussion. And today we're going to speak something very special about the student life. And student life is not that easy one. You go through all sorts of emotions, stress, anxiety, and eventually the joy. The most joyous moment of your life are usually the ones you gathered over your school and college days. Today we have with us one of our own student, Miss Anitha B, who will walk us through the journey as a student and her stressful as well as the joyous moment which she had at GIBS Bangalore. Hello Anitha, thank you so much for joining in. It's a real pleasure to have you as a student and looking forward learning a lot of things about your journey, how you had at GIBS. So let's welcome our audience and say hi to our audience.
Hi all. So I'm Anitha, PGDM first year student.
Wow,
Thank
that's
you, sir.
nice. So Anitha, just would love to understand what is your background, what education you did, and where are you basically from?
So I'm from Chennai, Tamil Nadu, and my native is Kerala, Palakkad. So I did my UG in University of Madras, BCom Bank Management. I was also pursuing my CA. I have given attempts for CA Intermediate. So I also thought of like, why not PGDM as well? So that's GIBS.
So see, since you mentioned that you have done your BCom and you had a plans of CA, I'm sure a lot of our aspirants also would look forward, go on a similar lines where they plan for CA and then they have a different plan. So what made you to think right from commerce, say from CA to the management?
Okay, so basically majority of engineering students, after doing engineering, they figure out what they require and they get into MBA. So when I thought of CA and MBA, they were at par.
Okay.
The thing that interests me is money and the finance part of it.
Okay.
So I thought, why not do it? And I don't have to like break through CA and get into MBA. I can do it parallelly. So it was like same stuff. So I was like, why not?
Wow, that's nice. So what is your family background speaks about? Are you from a business class family or are you from a service class family?
Okay, so no, I'm the first graduate of my family.
Wow, that's nice.
So
okay.
My parents have given some tremendous support for me to get into all these platforms. So my father owns a spare shop, AC, washing machine spare shop in Chennai. So he's the only breadwinner of the family. So yeah.
That's so you, how did you plan to move to Bangalore? Because I'm sure Chennai also has a lot of good institutions. So how did you get to know about GIBS and what made you to move to Bangalore?
Actually, it's quite a story because like initially when I wanted to do MBA was something like everybody used to do. It's nothing big posh, like not back how it was in 10 years ago.
True.
So when I told my parents, they were like, okay, you can do it. So why do you want to shift? Like the same question. I was like, Bangalore is like Silicon Valley. Like that's the first sentence I used. So I want exposure. 2-3 days CS, I just sit in my room, books, exams, books. So I wanted some exposure and my UG was correspondence. So I wanted to be sure I get a lot of cultural and educational experience. So I was sure it is Bangalore. So since I didn't have any guidance regarding CAT, all was YouTube and me. So I didn't know like in 2-3 months what can I do. And my correspondence background was not such common. So I was okay. And the two things that pulled me here, like first I went best institutes in Bangalore.
Okay.
And yeah, GIBS was first and I obviously didn't know about it. So when I went through, I know about the PGP, IRE and CPMP. I was like, okay, this is basically what I want to get into corporate. And I'm getting a PGDM into with together.
The kind of combo you're getting it there.
So like that's exactly what they needed and I was like, yeah, done. I'm sorted. I got it. Even before giving my CAT, I was like, okay, I'll clear CAT anyway. So I'm getting in here and I applied.
But surprisingly, I would say I heard that you had a very good score in CAT as well. And you happen to mention that it's just about a couple of months or maximum 3 months you prepared for CAT. First two questions right here. One, for all those CAT aspirants who are looking forward for the upcoming season, that how should you prepare for CAT? And the second question is, despite getting such good scores, I would love to know what was your score?
88%.
88%, right? So when you say you've scored quite a good, I'm sure you would have got a lot of IMs also in few of the smaller IMs, I would say, rather baby IMs you would have got.
Well, no.
No?
No.
Okay. So in terms of what made you to move forward when you say CAT, what preparations have you done?
So it was not just that 2 months. Usually when I study anything, I go prior to in-depth. I only forget when I'm not using it. So most of the things that we had to prepare for CAT were like the 7th to 10th grade stuff. And I was not able to understand which is important and which is not. So I basically went through the syllabus part and I typed it YouTube, basic concepts, things, YouTube. And for any exams, PGDM, CA, any exams, I have this 60 pages notebook wherein I write all the concepts, and right before exams, 4 or 5 times only that. I won't go through any other books. And
so you make your own notes in some sort. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, if for CAT it was like a 5 to 6 pages of formulas and all that. If it's PGDM, I have a 30 pages. If it's CA, it's a 60 pages notebook. So that I'm sure I only reread what I know. And in CAT, one good point that I would like to tell is, if you don't know it, and this comes from a YouTube video as well, if you don't know it, skip it. Don't go for your ego over there. Like, CAT does not require you.
True.
The best answers you give the right, it is going to give you scores. So that is one thing that I would like to tell. But otherwise, of important, not important, I didn't really go through any of it. It was just concepts, ego cut, done.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. So till now, I mean, it's been almost a year now,
Yes.
right? So how's your experience been in GIBS?
First thing, this is my first ever exposure to like nationwide audience. There are people from like every 26 states. You have one or the other. So that is like a tremendous exposure. That's one. And second thing is, when I after coming here, I got to understand corporate as a concept. Like, we used to think if you do an MBA, you just sit there, rolling chair and all that. But there is a lot of difficulty that goes behind it.
True.
And the kind of leadership that we see, it is not about what kind of a leader you are. It's like initially you have to prove you can get things done. So all these are like the concept that in books, but they teach us in such a way that you understand how do you execute it in real life. So those are like, oh wow, this is nice. So that's my experience in GIBS. And also I got to do a lot of MCing. I'm into AI club. I am also into finance society. Like, you see any society, I'm there. So that's what I needed, and GIBS offers it.
See, I really appreciate, since you took the initiative and you've been a part of a lot of things. A lot of students feel the moment I get into any of the institution, my job is done. Now it's a college task to prepare me for the industry, right? So what's your take on that? When you say that, okay, industry does not, the institution does not prepare you, rather you need to prepare yourself and just flow with with the things which you get it. So what's your take on that?
So you asked me about why not IIMs and
No, even in general, when you say, for instance, a student is asking, sir, I have taken the admission and now it's college duty to teach me, or to get me a placement, or to get me into, to develop my exposure, right? So what do you think? Is it a college responsibility, or it's a student willingness?
I would like to tell a short story and then
Probably,
come
yes,
to
yeah,
this.
please.
So the thing is, when people, before even getting into CAT, I was like, I didn't prepare that much. I just know the concepts and I wrote. So, and people tell CAT is very difficult, clearing it is and all. So the thing was like, I knew I can't get into top tier colleges. And when I wanted to know what is the difference between, like, why are they mentioning into different stuffs. And one thing I got to know is, it is not about teachers. It is not about placements. It's basically about your cohort and network.
True.
Even if you get into top tier colleges and if you don't participate and show who you are, you can't. And another thing is, like, more than 10 lakh people come outside. If you don't take an extra step and get into that 0.1%, you don't have that rolling chair. You get into the other seat.
True.
So I tell, it is our responsibility. And if you get a college's support, that is great. But primarily 99%, it's our responsibility. And the college has to support you.
True.
If you don't even think about college getting in and you do 99%, imagine college getting in as well. So that's your brownie point.
Okay.
Primarily, you do it on your own. That's what I
So
think.
do you agree that you've got a support from the institution, from GIBS? You have your supporting faculties here?
two things that pull me here are IRE and CPMP.
Okay.
So IRE is shaping me as to like, even if you want to be an employee at an executive level, you should have that entrepreneurship mindset.
So before you proceed, I want one thing to, I want once that you should say what IRE is all about, a brief about IRE. Okay. So what does IRE for all our audience who doesn't know what IRE is? Okay. So if you can elaborate a bit on IRE.
So IRE is innovation, research and entrepreneurship. We also have School of Youth Leadership included into it.
Okay.
So primarily if you have to get into any job, like you are creating anything, initially you have to ideate. And it's not, when you tell ideate, it's not just the light bulb moment. You have to go through what is behind it, feasibility, possibility, and whom do you have to network with. For, let's say for example, we are creating a product. The ideation behind a product versus a service are two different steps.
Two different things, yeah.
So that has to start with I. Then you get into how do you get all these data? Research. And research is not you just go to Google and get it. So we have like a lot of structure. For beginners, I'll say Google Scholars. I came to know only after coming here.
Okay.
So like the basic stuff so that your foundation is strong and even outside of it you get it. And the same with E as well, the entrepreneurship mindset. You have to partner with 4-5 people. Same thing, ego. And how do you collaborate with like minds, and how do you make people follow you? What kind of leadership are you supposed to follow? All these comes under IRE. And leadership thing is about how do you think different, like design thinking and things like that. So in case we have millions of ideas, only one strikes. So let's just imagine you have one and I have one, and it's kind of similar. We take the best of both worlds, combine and create one. So there we need a cohort that works on similar ideas, and here every student have to have an idea. Every student works on one.
Okay.
So that's IRE for us. And the other is CPMP. So basically they train you for anything that the corporate needs. From your aptitude, from your communication, how you present, like PPT people tell that's taught in school. But if you actually get into and tell what font you're supposed to use, how a violet is different from red and then the perspective it gives, those are all done in our CPMP. So it's making you corporate ready. And if you want to start your own corporate, here you are. You can do that as well.
That's nice. So do you see any change? Like it's been a year now. So what Anitha was a year ago and what Anitha is today, do you see any change there?
I think initially it's my communication. Like I know I talk a lot, but there are a lot of constructive criticisms that I get and I work on it. And the second thing is the exposure. Like I get to, like, you want ISB, you have a professor. You want IIM, you have a professor. It's like best of everything that I could ever imagine. And another thing is like they give you personal attention. They just don't tell you improve this. Week after they're behind my back, you're still not done this. It's only 70% is done. Do this. So that's the thing that is changing me. So it's, if I tell them like I've studied in CA, initially I was like finance is going to be very easy for me. I don't even have to think. But even the subject is having only 50% of it, they go that extra mile and ask me another question. I know you know this. You have to come up with that. So yeah, those are the changes that I can see in me.
Wow, that's nice. So you said that you've been part of a lot of clubs and societies and things. So what kind of events generally do they conduct in throughout the years, or what kind of participation you have? I'm sure you would have won a lot of them. So if you can help me out with something on that.
So the first ever competition that I went from school was a book review competition. So the thing was, it was about self-help book.
Which institution you have been to? That wasn't?
Alliance University.
Okay.
So yeah, so we went to Alliance University for a book review competition, and that was the first ever competition after like 2-3 years of gap. Even after my college. So the thing was, the category that we chose was self-help book. And I've never read books, like books were never my thing. I do podcast or my parents give me yarn. So when I read the book for actual competition, I was like, this is everything that my dad has ever told. Wow. So, so it was not just the book review. It also gave me how do I present myself, because it was a long time. So stage presentation, hand-eye coordination, how do you coordinate with the groups? How do you tell this is my plus and that's your plus? And those were all done. So we won the first prize. We had the best presenter, best team. So it was a great start for me, like first. So that's my first ever competition. And recently we also went for a national level case study competition at KJ Somaya, Mumbai. So at the other university, we were all same group, and here it was we were competing with the best of best, the colleges that I thought I can't get into. We were competing with the best, like NISM, SEM, HRD. I was like, wow, like this is exactly what I wanted, and they were around like 200 plus competitors.
Oh my God.
We had 4 rounds, like quiz, then 1 slider, then 4 slider. We went through all this, and we were actually there at KJ Somaya, Mumbai.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So Axis Bank's regional head was there, and financial FPSP. Yeah. So their head founder were there. So it's like, wow, even if I don't win, the words that they give us was like amazing. And book presentation was not my core, but this was into investments. They gave us a budget, and we had to allocate them the investments. We even did research behind it.
Okay.
So the knowledge that I gained here, plus these if I don't go into this competition, I might have got this knowledge. But how does the actual industry work? This competition,
You wouldn't have got to know about
exposure. And the college also supported us. Like we even had faculty who gave me inputs. Like they came forward, like, are you ready? Did you do this? Did you consider these points? And that was great. And we bagged third prize.
Wow.
Out of like 200 people, we bagged that third prize.
Super awesome.
Yeah.
So when you say this, that you've met a lot of them, right? So other than the events, do you see any of the corporates who come to the campus, interact with you guys during your class hours?
Yes, sir. We actually have every week, we have a HR from like really huge companies that we dream of come here and let us know what an HR requires. Initially, we thought, okay, that's just for HR people. No. You take any specialization, you have to sit in front of a HR, sell yourself.
Okay.
People telling like, I don't do sales, I do marketing. No, like you take finance, you still have to sell yourself. You have to tell them like the idea that you're telling for investment works better than anybody here. That's what gets you that additional zero in your paycheck. So yeah, a HR comes here, he tells different perspective. And for example, I told you I did my Eugene correspondence. I had like a lot of opportunity to ask various HRs, does it matter? How do I overcome that? If it matters, how do I overcome that? And for example, a lot of people introspect themselves because we have subjects like OB. So we go through a lot of checks that tells you this is your personality, this is your skill and all that. So if you have a doubt like I have this skill and this personality, which better suits me? So things like that actually help us.
Okay.
And every week you have a HR addressing you from like your dream company in itself.
That's like, even if you meet them, you don't get anything. That's still a dream come true, right?
Yeah. It gives you one more additional step to network with them as well. You ask a good question, they remember you because like that's what it's do. So like, yeah, that is one, not just one, it's like 100 brownie points together.
Okay. So once the HRO, and I've heard that a lot of Shark Tank people do visit. I think recently also Mr. Dhananjay Yadav has visited with
the AI.
So AI basically variable which they had. So when you meet with them, right, do they really give you a kind of sense of, say, since we are in Startup Hub, Bangalore being the Startup Hub, so what kind of startup information do you get there, that how to start a business, or what discussions you generally have with them?
The books basically tell you the steps. But the problem is in startup, you go and tell them at one step you're down. You thought the investor will give you money, but you didn't get it. How do you overcome that? Every startup founder, every corporate actually tells you what they went through. True. And it is also about their difficulties as well. So those are the lessons that the startup founders who come here give us. And for example, I told you about product and service development. They also gave us ideas of use this website. For example, instead of using Wix, use Shopify because it is more sellable. It is easier. Like you just develop an app and it is ready on the go. So these are few tips that take you that extra mile and give you that extra pace, the additional pace.
The extra edge over the other.
Yeah. So that's the lessons that we get from founders who come here.
Okay. So I think I've asked you a lot of questions, but now I have one thing that, if I say speak about GIBS, okay, how would you summarize who should join GIBS? Or I would say, what is your journey that, okay, if you're looking this, you should consider GIBS. So what might be those points?
If you want opportunity,
okay,
and if you are somebody who grabs it at first sight, GIBS is your point. Like that's what I would summarize about my entire journey in GIBS.
Wow. So, but one last question I'll ask you. So when you speak about what message would you love to give to all our aspirants who are going through this podcast, so what message would you like to give to them?
I think primary is focus because people tell you enjoy in your 20s and 30s. You focus in till 25, 30, you will retire at 40. You will have that capability. So focus. And the other thing is like don't get deep into it. Also know play while you play, work while you work. Like that's something that I would like to tell them.
Thank you so much, Anita. I'm sure all our viewers would agree that you had a great journey here at GIBS, and I'm sure you're gonna fly with wonderful colors right from GIBS. And looking forward to see you hosting a lot of them with a lot of big corporates sitting on the other side of the table and you talking to them. So looking forward, it's started your journey. So thank you so much for joining in once again. We are really happy to have you.
Thank you, sir.
So I believe today Anita has voiced the voices of many students, youngsters as well as the aspirants who were often confused about what decision they should take. I hope this podcast has brought some of the light to help you out all to come out through all your troubles and opportunities waiting for you to seize them. As we wrap up this episode of GIBS IR Talk podcast, let's thank Anita once again for being here, and thank you everyone who's been a part of this podcast. So always stay innovative, stay connected with us, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel at GIBS Business School Bangalore, and follow GIBS IR Talks and GIBS Business School for on all social media handles to stay updated, and we would love to learn more from you as well. So looking forward to see you at GIBS. This is Sandeep Bansali signing off. Thank you so much. Looking forward with one more enlightening episode very, very soon. Stay inspired, stay happy, stay healthy. Thank you.